welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer Vatsa. Here today with me is Aserial Krabat. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We've been trying to do this for a little while, time zone things. You're a little ahead of me in the day already.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's approaching 9 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
So it's a perfect hour to talk about everything magically occult and mystical. It's kind of like, moving into the night. So perfect timing.
It's obviously not the night here.
But it kind of works with the contrast, like if you look to the right, it's kind of like pink and dark, and to your right side, you have like, the more light aspect. So
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons I wanted to, have you on and talk about, because a lot of what I do with my videos and some of my products, I talk a lot about like astral travel and deep meditation and how to incorporate that into your magical practices and rituals. And I know in one of your videos you were talking about using remote viewing in how you do things in rituals, especially when you're working with other people. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've never been the biggest astral traveler, because like growing up with not growing up, but kind of like growing up with magic and becoming more of where I am today because of magic. I started learning everything that I could get my hands on, from astral travel, divination, evocation, and all of that. From multiple different sources. So starting out in the right hand path, and then more like the light worker side of things. Being part of the whole like spiritual community, and then moving to the left hand path. I have a lot of things that I learned over the years, and remote viewing became the go-to for me, because I had in the past issues to actually disconnect from my body if I was not sleeping. So I figured out the best method for me, to visit these worlds is to remote view into them instead of traveling. But actually, over the last few weeks, I'm still in contact every day with Connor Candle, and he kind of rekindled that flame with astral travel as well. And I kind of like just flipped the switch again for me to actually realize how easy it is to get out of your body and not just remote view. But remote viewing is just for me easier because that's how I practiced and learned it. Because no matter what I do within like rituals or spells or path workings that I do, if I commune with certain deities and spirits, it's easy for me because of the background and the practice to just drop my mind and go into a trance state, and then instead of traveling through a gateway and traveling outside of my body, just directly realizing where I want to be and then viewing that from my point of view where I'm at right now. And kind of disconnecting from the physical realm and just being there. So you could kind of say that's maybe the same thing, like astral traveling, but I just like to peek into things and then go back if I have to. And that enables me to do rituals, for example, do the mundane aspects within the ritual, meaning that I have to, maybe, coat a candle with some herbs, so gotta say litany or some incantations and do the physical work, while at the same time, I'm actually remote viewing to my astral temple or to a specific sphere or a klifa, or depending on where I have to go, and doing that simultaneously, because I can kind of disconnect myself from the physical to the spiritual at the same time, moving around here. And that kind of enables me to do that, because if I astral travel, I actually have to, sit in a meditative state and be really calm, and then really focus on traveling outside of my body and then going to specific destinations step by step. And I have not mastered the ability yet to fully travel outside and also work with my body. That's why remote viewing is kind of my go-to when it comes to that.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think I do a little bit of that, just sort of naturally on my own, like where you can be like fully out of your body, or you're in your mom, you just kind of project yourself kind of into that space. I feel like sometimes with remote viewing, I tend to do it more like if I need to go to like a physical spot for some reason, like when I was learning about soul travel and astral travel, it's like, okay, I'm up here thinking about something downstairs and being able to visualize it so crisply and clearly, to be able to be like, okay, I can go downstairs without going downstairs, pick up that statue that's down there, hold it in my hand. I know exactly how much it weighs, what it feels like, how big it is, and all the spatial things that go around with that. So I think that's really, an interesting way of approaching it. Because like recently I've been having a little bit of trouble with doing a little bit of astral travel and like the deep meditation things. I think I've been really tired, so if I lay down, I'm just gonna fall asleep. But also I think it's the spirits are the way that they're pushing me right now, and sort of like the path working and life lessons, is they're like, okay, we need you to pay attention to things in your conscious realm right now. Like, you don't have to go there to like channel information from us. So I've been doing more with like automatic writing and just being able to do it that way while just kind of in my conscious state, or be like, when you get to a point when you're working with a lot of different entities and stuff, I don't feel like I have to do like a huge, like massive hour-long evocation to work with Lucifer. I'm just like, hey, Lucifer.
Yeah, you got it on a speed dial.
Yeah. So, but I think they want me to pay more attention to enhancing my conscious psychic abilities and intuition and things of that nature. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I do a lot of astral, or usually do a lot of astral travel, but I think I've just been very tired. And also I kind of have that ADHD Gemini brain that sometimes just doesn't STFU.
No, I hear you. Because sometimes, going through specific periods in your life or doing path workings, or whatever is happening right now, we have to sometimes, focus more on the physical realm and what's going on right now, instead of traveling to, the mythical lands, to Valhalla, wherever you want to go, because the astral realm is such a big place. It's vast, it's endless, and you can kind of get lost in that, and I know people that have done it for such a long time and keep doing it, that they're not really that connected anymore to the physical realm and the experience of humanity. And I think that was also a key part of my practice and my upbringing as a magician, witch, whatever you call it, that I wanted to bring down the powers to me instead of traveling there. Because when I die, and we all will, someday cross the gateway through death into what's beyond, I can do whatever the fuck I want because of my, other stuff and path workings and creating a light body and, being conscious within life, that I have all the time that I need. So why do, like, I didn't see any sense of, constantly traveling to distant realms. I had it made more sense to me to bring down the powers to me so I could kind of change my physical reality, which is kind of also within the left-hand path, and actually being the master of your reality and, making the changes needed that you want to manifest your desires, essentially.
Interesting. Yeah. And earlier you mentioned a little bit about like the spheres and the Qlifa and stuff like that. So for our viewers that aren't familiar with the Qliphotic aspects of things, I'm not myself not overly familiar. I'm just now kind of getting a little bit into that, learning about it. Like, I know about the tree of life and the night side and the tree of death and stuff like that. Beyond that, I know spheres and stuff, but just to kind of give a little.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'm not a Qliphotic practitioner at all. Like, that's not really my forte as well. Oh, hello, Kitty.
We have Corey, for all of Corey's fans. I have to make a YouTube channel for him.
Got to do a fan page for him one day.
Yeah, I think I might call it the Chilling Adventures of Corey and Moon.
Well, every witch kind of has a cat or a familiar, so that's kind of. But yeah, when it comes to the Qliphoth, I've never practiced any Kabbalah or the Qliphoths, which is kind of derives from the Kabbalistic traditions. When I have to travel somewhere, for example, and I know I got to work with a specific entity, like Lucifer Trafficale, I'll make sure that I open it in my own way. I don't really follow any kind of tradition. I'm more of a collector when it comes to magic or any kind of spiritual system, because I use what works for me. So I pick and choose essentially, and then see what kind of functions as a technology, a spiritual one, that I can then, interact with. So I have never really used a traditional way of going through these cliffs and then path working all of them. When I have to, I go there through my specific ways, and then I call it a day essentially.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of a collector on things too. It's sort of like I like reading about like how other people do rituals and what their processes and things are. But like for me, when I do rituals or spells or any kind of work, it's just completely extemporaneously. Like I don't write anything. I might have like an outline basically, but occasionally I'll use like an invocation or something. But usually it's just me, kind of
Going with the flow.
going with the flow, channeling my own way of evoking and stuff like that. I to date still have never done a greater or lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. You
Oh,
know,
see. Well, there you go. Well, that's some.
I'm not one for. I'm not really big into ceremonial magic, so it just doesn't resonate with me. Like if that's your thing, awesome, but
Yeah, I completely understand that. Because there's so many different systems of magic that you can apply yourself to. It's unbelievable. There's so many traditions around the world, and that's kind of when I started this. I think so I started right hand path, light workers type of stuff after my first awakening, after experiencing samadhi, which is kind of like the awakening moment of the universe awakens through you, and you become one with everything, and then gradually moving to witchcraft and then the left hand path side, because that kind of just made more sense to me, that I saw all these different traditions, and then I was path working through as much as I could, but never really felt at home in any of them. So I was still looking, but on every way and pathway that I walked on, I always kept something as a souvenir, which is a technique that I still employ nowadays. So I am a ceremonial magician, but I'm also a root worker, and I'm also doing astral magic. And so it really depends on the day on how I do my rituals. Like sometimes, as you just said, I just go with the flow. If I feel like, hey, I need something done now, and instead of writing a grand ritual and preparing everything, I'll just maybe pull out a few candles that I already prepared, or I just do something astrally, just work with my energy, and do it that way. And sometimes, if I feel like it's needed, I pull out the circle, I write down incantations, and make sure that I put as much energy into it as I can, to get something done. So I think for me, it depends on how high the level of success I need to have for something. Maybe that's actually wrong, because it doesn't depend on the level of success, because you could have, you can have great success with just doing like a ritual without a circle, without ceremony magic, and having great success with that, or you use all these tools, but they're all just helpers. They help you focus, and they help you to kind of put forth energies. So it kind of depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's sort of like, with how busy I am with my business and stuff like that, it's, I don't have the time to do a big 3 or 4 hour ritual. That's why I was doing a lot of astral work, just because I would be like, I'm exhausted. All I can do is just sit here right now. So, okay, I'm going to do astral realm work, because, I have my astral temple and things like that I've done there. And even, when I'm in the conscious realm, when I'm doing rituals, I mean, there's no set thing. It's your ritual can be 5 minutes, or it can be 5 hours, or it could be 5 days.
Yeah.
It all depends on what you're working towards and your dedication to that. Now, if you do something for 5 minutes and once done and expect it to be done, to get massive results, you might be a little disappointed. So, but it's ongoing work towards something. It's not like, well, I did my pact with Lucifuge. Well, where is it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's actually kind of interesting that you bring that up, because I remember when I started working with Lucifuge, that was 3 years ago. Yeah, some around 3 years ago. I started getting to know him, getting sort of like a relationship. I started to call on him, because there were essentially not really sigils for him, so it was a little bit more difficult. But if you know how to call forth an entity, you know how it's done essentially, and then you call them forth. And I wanted to do a pact with him for essentially freedom, financial prosperity, and all of that. And even though I had many years of practice and experience with the magic, I was in a certain situation in my life that I wanted it now. Like I wanted it now, like give it to me. And long story short, that's not what happened. But he put me on a path that I'm still actually walking today as we speak,
That's amazing.
of going through specific things in my life to have the experience of what I have to do, how to learn, to manifest what I want, to gain powers, to necessarily do what I need to do, and then gradually moving myself up that ladder of ascent that I wanted to, have instantly. And it's an ongoing process. So, if you do a pact with an entity, for example, and you want money or financial income, and you do the pact and you do a grand ritual for, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours, and then that's it. And you put the pact on the shelf. It's like, oh, I'm rich now. It's not how it works,
No.
And I'm not telling you that. I'm telling that people
Yeah.
that, maybe are new to magic and kind of expect too much from things like that. Because what you got to realize is that, okay, so you've done the spiritual act of, pulling forth these energies into your life with a pact. Now you got support from a grand duke or master, demon, god, whatever. It's going to support you. You made a pact, which is specifically designed for you and them. You know what you wrote in there and what you have to give back in a way. But you got to do the work. So if you don't move your ass physically to make sure that, hey, I actually got avenues where, financial income streams can come to me, nothing else is going to happen. So if you're stuck, for example, in a job and you work at McDonald's from Monday to Saturday from 9 to 5, expect maybe getting a raise or just having more hours to work, because that's the only way how you're going to get more money.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, there's other ways that it's sort of the be careful what you wish for of like getting from point A to point B. It's like, it's some of the stuff where I haven't really done a lot of money magic per se, but as I've worked, with different entities for, towards, becoming financially stable or successful business. And then it's kind of like, okay, I have to now like, keep, everything grew so fast that I'm like, okay, like always been struggling to catch up with it. And, and then sometimes you have to be very specific, because it's like, you'd be like, hey, I need more money. And you walk out, there's a $20 bill sitting on your doorstep. And then they're like, well, you said you needed more money.
Yeah.
I need $1 million. Well, we burnt your house down, so now you'll be able to get $1 million in insurance money.
Yeah, exactly. That can also happen.
Right.
Like,
So it's having very specific. You have to really think about how, when you're making pacts, and especially with doing any kind of ritual work like that, you have to be very specific about it. You can't just, light a candle and hope for $1 million land on your lap tomorrow. And you're also going to have to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might be working at McDonald's and whatnot, and get a raise or something, but also be thinking about life beyond that. What's the next step? Do I want to become a manager? Do I want to leave this and go into something else? And putting those things into motion. To get from point A to point B to point C and beyond.
Yeah, make a plan for yourself as well. Just don't it depends on your personality. It depends on how you want to do it. But for example, like still maybe being on the topic of financial income with magic, you could also get fired from a job because of that, because they're moving you to a different situation where you can make more money. Well, at the same time, if you are if you still want to be employed, then you probably find something else where that kind of more suits you. But if you want to be self-employed, well, you could start a business. You start having great ideas, but at the same time, so you're thinking about it, and okay, that's kind of the vision. Yeah, that could work. Now you got to put in the work to actually make that manifest, because if you don't do it, on the physical realm, nothing's going to manifest. It can take time. Well, that's the same thing with having a thought. Everything you see around us here that is all built by humans was just a thought to begin with, and then it manifested into the physical realm. But because there's a time delay and we actually have to work with physical materials and stuff like that, there's time that needs to go into that. It's not like on the astral dimension or other dimensions where you just think about something and it appears in front of you. That's just not how it works.
I need to sacrifice a goat right now, and there's a goat, because he's got a goat tree. Which, in fact, I do have a goat tree in my astral temple, because Azazel gave me one.
Oh, like the goat trees where like goats are actually like standing on the tree. Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
like yeah, I was explaining something like just Google image search goats and trees. There's like a specific type of tree in Morocco, and you'll just see like 20 goats just standing
Yeah.
in the tree, being goats.
Yeah.
So I got one of those in my Astral.
Okay, that's actually cool. I got a bonsai. I got like a whole like gardening thing in
Yeah,
my app.
me too. Well, given what I do, yeah, it's mostly garden kind of area and stuff. And Beelzebub gave me 2 capybara.
What's that?
Capybara,
What is
they're like really, really large guinea pigs. Like imagine a guinea pig that's like the size of maybe a sheep.
Oh, what? Okay. I
Yeah. Okay.
never.
Also, Google image search capybara. They're adorable. Other animals like to sit on top of them, and they're like so super chill.
Okay.
Like I know we're supposed to be a spirit animal, but like that I am the capybara. That's my animal.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
I'm
I
like,
know.
I'm
I have
super
to check
chill.
that
I
out.
like to take fancy baths, and animals like to sit on me.
Okay. I actually got to check that out. I never heard about that animal. But yeah, and like, I
And
mean,
they squeak.
like guinea pigs.
Kind of. They have little squeaky sounds they make, and it's really super cute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list to check out after we're done here. Um, but even talking about spirit animals, there's so many ways that you can, work your magic with. For example, my spirit animal is the raven. Now, people could say, oh, that's kind of stereotypical, raven cats, all the cool ones. But it actually came to me
Yeah.
by my higher spirit guides because, I made some research and I didn't know what could be my spirit animal. There's multiple animals I was interested in. And then I had a dream about a raven that came to me. And then my memory started to open up where I remembered things about ravens in my childhood and other things that kind of came back. And I realized that I always had like a spirit companion, even remembering the name, something that I made up as a kid, for example. And then it came back to me. And I started working with that and now have it on my sleeve and stuff like this. And that's another way you can do magic with. You can essentially use your
With
familiar.
familiars and things like, and there's different. Yeah, some people call them like totem animals. I tend to go more for like like soul animal or something like that, because I mean there's a little bit of, at least in America, like spirit animal usually figures a little bit more into like indigenous cultures and things like that, because there's an entirely different process of how that comes to be.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a lot of different totem animals, familiars, etc.
Yeah. Well, there's just different systems for everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And
And
that's why
I've really been fascinated with like animal omens lately, like, because also I live in a city, so, me seeing something that's not, a squirrel or, common birds in the area or whatever.
raccoons. Do you have
Yeah, raccoons. Yeah.
I actually miss those guys. We don't have them in Germany. I think we
Oh,
do have them in the big cities, but I remember being in Canada in the middle of the winter and we had a raccoon family and I used to give them food and it would literally knock on the fucking door and stand under their 2 feet waiting, for food and
yeah,
having their hands, which is kind of cute.
yeah.
So I started doing actually, some magic while I gave them some food. And then I, as they were standing in front of me, I laid out some candles and I was channeling the essence of the raccoon, trying to, maybe get some gnosis from that. And that's also how you can kind of, use magic and go into nature and, channeling information from your surroundings and the animals, becoming part with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's part where something that I'm learning more about, just kind of like if suddenly you see, a fox or vultures or something that you wouldn't normally be seeing, kind of like what that means,
Mm-hmm.
and and looking at it from different cultural perspectives, because it also depends on where you're from and stuff like that. A fox might not show up on your front door if you live in Africa somewhere.
Well, if it does, then that definitely is a sign.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I know we have some like in the city, there might be some foxes, like if you go to some of like like bigger parks or out like towards more wooded areas. But where I live, yeah, I probably would not see a fox running down the street. And if I did, it would probably be a rabid fox, so you wouldn't want to go make friends with it.
Okay. Well, you don't really see foxes that often anyway. I know that in America you have way more animals
Yeah.
because like we probably almost hunted everything down because we've been living here. Like humans have been living in Europe for such a long time.
Mhm.
So that actually just a few years ago, the wolf came back into our forests. So we got wild boars, we got some cougars, we got birds and little things. But we don't have the vast flora or fauna. So fauna, that's fauna, the vast fauna of the animal kingdom here.
Yeah, geographically speaking, I mean, the United States is very, you have everything from like deserts to like, snowy, snow-capped mountain regions to, more temperate climates and, swampy, like equatorial stuff. So we've got, a lot of different types of wildlife here.
Yeah. Well, you're more like a continent, it's like that than just a country because your states are country-sized states.
Yeah. They
Compared
probably
to
should be
Germany,
their
for
own countries, but,
yeah.
that's a story for another day because I really don't like to discuss politics on my channel.
Yeah, no, let's not go there at all because I think there's other channels for that, and we're talking about the magical and the mythical and the occult. That's not really the place, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Like I find talking about politics really boring.
Yeah, exactly. Now let me ask you something.
Sure.
When did you start like having the interest for the more like the what you call the poison path and the path working with plants and stuff like that? Because if you go back into like history or witchcraft, that's a key part of that. Using oils and herbs and everything in our practice. Like, how did you become so interested in it that you started to actually have a company that now produces magical oils, elixirs, spell fires, bath salts, and all of the great stuff?
Like everything in my life, I fall into things ass backwards.
Okay.
So I started out doing aromatherapy, working with like essential oils and doing like more traditional therapeutic stuff with them and skincare and things like that. And I just started, I became more interested in herbalism maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. Started doing some coursework in that, which I never finished, but it was really, I'm like, I live in a city. I don't know how to, I don't have anywhere to experiment with soil propagation right now. I'm sorry. Because
Yeah.
it was a little too advanced, into, doing experiments with soil and,
Well,
all
you
that
start
fun.
somewhere. If you don't have a garden or somewhere you can plant stuff, you got to work with something else. But you can still work with plants.
Yeah, so it started, it kind of started out in the more traditional realm of working with like the essential oils to say, make something for stress relief or to help you sleep or for anxiety and stuff. And then as I was getting more into doing stuff with herbalism, and then I was also starting to make like some infused oils that I was using in like skincare products and things like that. Like, I would take like rose petals, infuse it in like olive oil, and then use that as a base for like a skin oil or a skin lotion or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting when it comes to like the actually mundane aspect of using oils and aromatherapy because it's right around the corner to witchcraft and oils. I think,
Yeah.
like spell oils and stuff like that because it's the same. It's just
Yeah.
magical. You have different intent with it and you use it in your spells. Because like for me, for example, everyone having their different practice. As I was started out like more of a ceremonial magician, and then gradually actually moving not away from ceremonial magic in my circle, but moving to an altar, building that for myself, and actually having an altar present and working with that, and then doing more spells because everything I've done was grand or astral and just a mix of that. I started using oils because I haven't really used any oils before. Actually, just a year ago, that was the time when I was like, hey, I want to actually use some more herbs because when I was using herbs or incense, I just burnt the herbs and just gave them as an offering or consecrated them. But I never really included them that much, like, creating my own oils or using the more root work aspect with that.
Yeah.
If you go into like hoodoo or like, the conjure work, what they have like, aluminum plates or, plates essentially, and they have necessary herbs that are associated with what they want to achieve, and they have their candles, and I do, the root worky stuff with that. And I was looking at that, and then I was influenced by many other people, even like seeing your stuff and your website and the products you have, and talking to Connor Candle, him like in his crazy oils and stuff like that, being a mad scientist about it. I started doing it myself.
Yeah, I'm sure the Baneful Elixir has ghosts in it.
Come again?
I said, I'm sure the Baneful Elixir has ghosts in it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of spirits in that.
I'm like, I'm gonna store this in a lockbox now.
Yeah, he actually, like, I asked him, I was like, I will not keep that next to my oils or like anything else. I don't want that to be affected by it. And he's like, no, he made a protection to it, but definitely keep it away from things.
Yeah.
And then I have it right like on top of my oil thing, and where I have my herbs and stuff like that, just on the top of that, so that nothing kind of reaches that thing.
Mine's in a lockbox.
Well, you can do that too.
Yeah,
but then going back to the herbs and the oils, it's fun. It really is. Like, I have been enjoying it ever since, because now if I do something, for example, and I have a client that comes to me, is like, hey, I want this ritual done. I give them multiple options. You can either book me for a spell, or I do ritual, or a grand rite, and no matter, depending on what they want, I'll give it more energy and more preparation. And then I started, actually having to concoct my own ritual oils, because, I want to do my own stuff. And then I started, implementing a lot of different techniques from everything that I've, experienced and learned over the years. And it's amazing. It really is. Like, if you have a magic oil and you anoint that with a candle, and you have your candle carved in a specific way, and you do like specific incantations, you call for spirits aligned with that, and you do the spell, oh my fucking God. It works wonders. Like, it's like, it kind of always baffles me that how magic can be even more powerful sometimes when you do extra stuff with it. And that's why I enjoy it so much. That's why it's not just a hobby, it's my lifestyle. Like when you see, for example, in the background, this is right in the open when people come into my apartment. Like, I don't hide it anymore. It's just like, this is what I am. I'm not hiding it from anyone. And if you feel weird about me, then you feel weird about me. You don't have to like me. But it's like, I enjoy it so much, because not only is it changing you, and through ascension, whatever you want to do, it's changing the way you approach things, and you learn things, new things constantly. And that's why I love magic and the occult, because it's a science and an art, and the art aspect is so important for me because I'm an artist.
Yeah, same. Because it really, it's art, it's science, it's technology, and all these things kind of come together in this really like beautiful philosophy, and everything. It just comes together in a really beautiful way that we don't see in other aspects, because things are so separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always would joke, I'm like, I probably would have done better in mathematics if we did it in like colored pencils.
Yeah, some people are more logical, and some people think more creatively.
Yeah, I think creatively, like for me, mathematics was too linear, like the kind of like order of operations and stuff. No, I'm like, woo, the way you kind of visually, like when you're a visual artist, you don't make a photo or a painting where everything is like linear, whatever, lined up in a linear way. In that, I mean, unless that's something that's very, like, if you look at like op art or pop art and stuff like that, that's kind of how that was done. But when you're trained to, whether you're doing photography, which was a lot of what I did, where it's like, you want to, when you visually read something, you kind of have that sort of, going to all the different, through the corners and stuff like that. Whereas, even like when doing videos, it's like, do you want to be in the center of the screen, or is it more interesting if I'm like this? Because now it changes the flow, the visual field flow. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, some people just have the perspective looking through the looking glass of, art and colors and, the beauty of it. And some people look at it logically. There's every avenue, if it's logical or more. So let's say logical is the male aspect, because like male is always, in a straight line. That's male energy. It goes goes like this. And female energy is more creative. That's the creation aspect of creation. It goes in a circle. But at the same time, even if the spiral is round, going inward, or it's, square, it will still hit the same point. So you can kind of sometimes find the middle ground. That's what I try to do. Maybe it's because of my star sign as being a Libra, which I don't really focus too much on astrology, but I think the middle of that is important for me because I can see logic in the art as well. For example, if you have specific geometry behind your art, you can actually kind of give it a system. So for example, you have a specific task and you need something done for a client, for like a graphic design client, as I do graphic design. The first thing that I do is make sure to really know what they want, and I use my magical skills actually with that and channel stuff. And then I go into what I've learned logically with a system and how things should be approached, what people look at first, the kind of system behind that, and how to get their attention, and having that as a basic fundamental principle behind that as a layer grid. And then I put the art on top of that, and then I keep the logic aside and then try to mix that, and then it's art. And sometimes it's more beautiful, sometimes I'm less happy with it, and then it always depends on how it's done, I guess.
Yeah, it's very interesting, how all these things have been around for so long, and then but looking at the rapid change and evolution within the magic community, like, and I really think and I've walked different paths, and I've explained, I got into, like, when I started coming really back full force into practicing witchcraft after not for a very long time, I was doing a little bit more of the hoodoo root work kind of stuff. That's kind of how a little bit of how I started working with oil, making oils. And some of the oils I make are, traditional, like a come to me oil or stuff like that. That you
Oh yeah, by the way, for everyone, check out belladonnicsbotanicals.com. She has awesome products for everything that comes around witchcraft and magic. I had a huge package come to me, and ever since then I've been using her oils, and they're great.
Thank you. But yeah, so some of the early stuff was more traditional based, like the come to me oil, things like that. And I'm trying to think what other ones, like commanding oil. Yeah, some of the typical, like what you see if you go into like a botanica or a metaphysical store, those types of oils. And then I started kind of like, okay, well, then I started designing things kind of like, okay, well, this is very specific type of oil, like I made one because as I was doing research and compiling stuff on, different herbs and stuff, I was finding, oh, there's a whole bunch of oils that boost magic power, like, or herbs rather, like dragon's blood, things like that. And I was like, I'm gonna make a power booster, like a witch's magic power booster oil, has no other purpose but on its own, but to enhance the workings of other things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I hadn't, I mean, there may be similar things out there, but it was something I hadn't seen. So I started taking what I was seeing with all the correspondences and then building from that, like, there's binding oils and there's love oils. So then I made like a love binding oil kind of thing where I took elements from both areas to combine them into something else.
Yeah, I think most of your love oils here, they're great. They really work, to say the least. Not that that I'm unhappy in my relationship. That's not about that. But, I got people coming to me for specific things they want. So, I got, that's why I ordered your oils. So I have them on stock. So I don't actually have to redo an oil by myself, because I do add some things here and there and create my own stuff. But that's essentially the creative part and the aspect to it. As you just said, you have love oils and you have binding oils. So why not combine both, and then kind of combine those powers together? And that's the great thing about it, because you do research. I know you do a lot of research because, you bring together your own products. You make sure that the attributes kind of match up with something, because some people, knowing kind of like how people are, especially if they don't know how our world functions, not like Harry Potter, we're still living in the real world. The magic oil by itself won't do the job. You got to do magic with it.
People will think like, oh, it's a little spell in a bottle, it just And you know, when you're getting stuff like, and I can tell like when, if you're buying, you know, the kind of oils that are sort of mass produced for metaphysical stores and botanicas and stuff like that, they are what they are.
Yeah, well, they're mass
You're
produced.
gonna have to do work with them to make them something, to make them work.
Exactly. I think we talked about this when I was the Anna Riva oils. Does that ring a
Yeah,
bell?
yeah.
Yeah. So like Anna Riva oils, they're like, if you go to Botanic or something or online, that's what you see a lot, like, you know, Anna Riva oils, but they are essentially essential oils with coloring and specific smell to them. And that's pretty much it. You know, you have to consecrate that yourself and then put it into your craft and do with it what you want, essentially.
And I think a lot of times people don't realize that when they're buying things, and it's sort of like, when I look at, because I buy other stuff too, because sometimes I'm just like, oh, I need this specific thing and I need it now and I don't have time to, you know, make it. So, you know, I'll get something, or I just like to experiment with other people's things because sometimes I get tired of my own. Because I mean, everything has, you know, different energies to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did an interview with Maggie Moon, the Left Hand Path Witch. We make a lot of similar types of things, but like what you're getting is our energetics with that, like, and our experiences, especially like we were talking, I think about like our Lucifer oils or our Hecate oils and things like that, that you're getting what my experience is of working with Lucifer versus what her experience is of working with Lucifer. And then then those magical energetics into there. Now, there's different ways that you can do, that different people do, especially like witches who are making products and things like that, because there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah.
And you know, it's, do you have to do an elaborate 7-day ritual to consecrate an oil properly? If that's what you want to do and that works for you, great. Or you could just take the oil and be like, I charge and consecrate you with, you know, blah blah blah, and that can also be good enough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If that's also something we touched on privately. For example, you have different type of, you know, magic oils and how they're, you know, brewed together essentially. And there's so many different methods, and since, you know, magic is an art and a science, you know, you have different approaches to that. So, for example, mentioning Connor Candle again, I love you, bro. In his baneful elixir. I know Connor and how he works, and Connor is filled with energy. You know, he constantly, you know, does stuff from one thing to another. You know, like
You sleep in Europe, Connor. I mean, I will see him on. I'm like, the hell time is it there?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's late
here. Yeah, and I know that, you know, Connor like puts a lot of energy into these things because, you know, he's not mass producing these oils, he's just doing a small quantity of them.
here.
He's taking his time with that, you know, because he doesn't have like an oil business or a botanica like you do, you know. So there's different time constraints when it comes to that. So what he does, he takes a lot of energies and consecrates that, and does it over multiple days, and that kind of amplifies the power of that, you know. So you can do it that way, or if you need something specific done and you can trust your own ability to consecrate something, as you said, it sometimes is enough if you talk to a crystal and herb and you individually consecrate them, you know, with an incantation or just by your energy, tell them what they have to do, then put them together and you have a magical oil. Which kind of brings me to the whole topic also on Witch Talk, or on TikTok, where you have a lot of.
I'm old, so I don't really do. I mean, I've watched some like TikTok videos, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, TikTok started as a dancing app. It was called Musical.ly. And I don't know when it started with the whole witchy thing on there. For some reason, it was
Yeah, I
just.
think the first time I heard about it was when they were like trying to hex the Fae and hex the moon. I'm like, y'all are dumb.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with TikTok. Now you have people, you know, from all ages on there, and people actually educating people on witchcraft. But because it's an app where so many young people are on there, you know, my generation and younger, they don't have the background, and, you know, and some of them just move into that, and a lot of females are interested in witchcraft, you know. You know, let's face it, you know, it has become a whole movement, you know, even being connected to feminism. We have the witch aspect, because it kind of represents the female as well.
Yeah.
You have young baby witches, as them call themselves, that don't really know how it works, or have like read many books on it, or read books on it. But a lot of it is watered down information, that started years ago, 100 of years ago, 20, 50, 60, from Wicca, from the original sources, and then it was watered down the way until you end on TikTok, where someone is telling you just grab a container like a glass thing, you put a crystal inside, you sprinkle some herbs, you have your incense sticks, and you say something, and that's your spell. Now, does that work?
It could be, but it's again, it takes, like, I do a lot of jar work.
Yeah, me too.
But there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's not like just like, oh, I stuff stuff in a jar and now I'm done. It's like, no, now I've got all these consecrated herbs and oils and stones and personal effects and all that, water sometimes, and you're putting all these things in there. But then I usually will then take a candle and put the candle on top, and then that's consecrated in oil, and then you've got all this other, you're adding energy to it over time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the way they're functioning. Not all of them. I don't want to bash the entire witch talk thing, because I actually started doing stuff on there as well to educate people. Because not all of them have the background, and I think especially me coming from the left-hand path, it's just that we go for results. Because we don't want watered down stuff, and we don't have the Wiccan law. Not all witches are Wiccan, and that's something they also have to realize, because a lot of people think
Wiccans can be
you
witches.
gotta.
Witches can be Wiccan, but it's not mutually exclusive.
Absolutely, yeah. Wicca is a religion. Yeah, exactly. We don't really all follow that religion.
Right.
There's so many different traditions out there that incorporate witchcraft and magic. Not everyone is Wiccan, but they grow up on TikTok, and they see all these stuff, like young females doing that and telling them, I don't want to say bullshit, but I've seen a lot of bullshit. So let's just say a lot of bullshit on there, that just doesn't make any sense, and
like
and that's their own approach to that and belief. They teach that to them, and then they will take that and as their truth, and then also have a domino effect and do it that way. And
you just have a lot of like magical boo-boos to fix.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the left-hand path, we want results, so we go for the extreme sometimes, and we make sure that it works. So we put a lot of energy into that, and that's not exclusive to the left-hand path. I don't want to say that, but I just know that being part of the left-hand path and being closer to the dark aspect of spirituality, because we realize that we need both the light and the dark, and we embrace the dark part as well. A lot of us make sure that what we do works, and what they are actually basing their witchcraft on, which is what I wanted to go into now, is actually from a structure of belief, just belief. And that can definitely work for you. If you are a devout Christian, or you're devotee to a specific religion, and you do your work, depending on just the belief. If you believe so hardcore that you're something and that it works that way, it will work that way for you, for sure. But you really just not watering down the whole aspect of witchcraft, but you're not using it as an art or as in science. You're just using it from your belief system, and so you kind of have that, and that's even watered down, because let's face it, on TikTok, a lot of them are scared because of gatekeeping, so then they're not allowed to work with Lilith or hoodoo, and all of that, because people are telling you that tarot cards are racist. I mean, come on.
So I saw that one. I was just like,
yeah, they're just miseducated. So their belief structure,
a lot of it like comes down to like posturing to put your place as like to kind of get street cred, as it were, as being whatever, more woke, or more aware of things. And that's a whole other area that gets just as problematic. As I'm like, because I saw that whole thing about the girl who was posted about tarot cards are a closed Romani practice, and the Romani response to it was like, girl, no.
Exactly.
You're doing more harm than you think you are. We get what you're saying, but no, just stop.
Which is why we won't go into politics, but it's definitely connected to that. But even there, the whole gatekeeping stuff, and you can't practice that, it's close practice. It's an issue, because then these people just a lot of people are not comfortable working with deities or spirits and stuff like that, and that's totally fine. We all take our time. It's your journey, even with someone else working with them and you see them having great results. Look,
I
if
get
you
questions like that, like I do so and so. Can I work with Lilith? Or I'm like, yes.
yeah,
and
if you
you don't need my permission to. It's you want to work with them. If that spirit is coming to you, work with them.
exactly, and if you feel like you want to work with them, hey, the spirit is actually kind of talking to you already. So get close to it. Call it forth, whatever way you want to do that. But so these witches that don't do spirit work or don't work with spirits or anything like that, they base their witchcraft on the things they see on TikTok and the belief of in the crystals themselves and the herbs just doing the thing. That's so watered down compared to when you have a belief like Santeria, hoodoo, voodoo, and you use that religiously and you let the spirits work through your belief as well. That has a way greater power than the belief structure that's down here by just using the mundane things you find, and let's say it's a spell, and then you go up from that, and you kind of look at it through a scientific lens and knowing that's how I looked at it, and that's how I actually got to know how things work for me. It's looking at it scientifically, logically, and then using it as an art, knowing, okay, if I do this will happen. If I press that button, that will actually happen. And then including things like that. And if you can include all of that into a jambalaya, and you can call it jambalaya, you'll have great results with magic because you're amping up the power of that, which goes back to the original discussion of how magic works and functions.
Yeah. And it's I don't think there's anything inherently wrong, because I mean we all start somewhere and stuff, but it's starting in the right place. Like, I mean, people ask me a lot for information on like where they can find good books on like herbalism, and magical practice. And the one thing I said, I'm like, 90% of what you see out there, especially if you're Googling like magical properties of lavender or whatever herb or something, is a lot of it. And it's not to disparage the work that Scott Cunningham did. His work was good for the time it was done. He's also been dead for 27 years or something like that. So there are things that have changed since then. And what you have to look at as Scott Cunningham, as a Wiccan, was looking at herbs from that, through that lens. So you don't really find a lot out there about, okay, what herbs do I use for, baneful magic? It's much harder to find that information than it is to find like, what do I use for a love spell or money magic?
It's true. It's true. I remember I had to do something for a client of mine, which was a baneful working, and I had to look up correspondences for herbs. That was hard, because you can't really find stuff like that. So what you can do with herbs, for example, this is how I do it. I go on the internet, because I get that question too. It's like, what books do you recommend? It's like, I don't know, because I've done my research from so many multiple sources that I just, found my own stuff and the truth from all these things. So I can't pinpoint stuff for you. But I make sure that I look at different sources telling me, okay, this is that, and then I make sure cross-reference, is there an underlying truth to all of this? And if there is, okay, let me actually talk to that herb, or let me see what it tells me, what the properties are. You can also do that. But if you have, for example, an herb which is for, let's say, happiness and healing, it also has attributes of the reverse part of that, so you can reverse that and take the baneful aspects of it and say, hey, I want you to do actually that, not the
because like rue, when you use it for yourself, is highly protective and cleansing. You throw rue into something baneful, it's gonna like break through that protection and whatnot, and be more baneful when you're using it against someone in a baneful work.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I have various books and resources and stuff, and it's, I think, getting back at some point you had asked me about the poison, how I got interested in the poison path. That came a little bit later. That was maybe about a year and a half ago. I started becoming a little more interested in working with flying ointments and stuff like that. I'm not even sure why or how. It was just something that kind of like called to me at that point. I started experimenting. I have ones from other practitioners and friends and things like that. So, but yeah, again, that's something that what you're even looking at like poison path stuff, most people, like most books don't have like, here's the recipe for making a flying ointment. Because if you do that and you have a really bad reaction, you can sue the, the author of the book, or the publisher of the book and stuff like that. So like that knowledge is like some of the poison path knowledge when it comes to formulations is almost in its way. It's almost very guarded because, and it's not guarded for like closed practice kind of guarded. It's guarded like we don't want someone to be, to give that information out and it to be misused and to cause harm, because you're looking at, please don't, eat a whole handful of raw datura seeds.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
For the love of God, people, stop boofing things.
Yeah. Don't eat nightshade and stuff like that. Definitely. Well, if you want to, you can have.
You can prepare it into tinctures and things like that, but and boofing, for those who aren't there, that's getting high by sticking things up your ass. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh no,
yeah,
I think
apparently a lot of my like psychoactive plant and mushroom groups have taken over by people talking about nothing but boofing, because it is a funny word, and sticking things up your butt apparently is hilarious, but to get high off them. But
okay, I learned a new word today. Boofing. That's interesting.
Boofing.
Yeah, you just gotta be careful and just be wise about what you do, and within anything, I mean, if you use specific ingredients, that are toxic, be careful on what you do with that. Just don't consume.
Also the dark side that was calling to me with the poison path, because a lot of the nightshades and stuff historically are associated with the devil and like necromancy and evil.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I think it was just kind of like it just kind of worked together. I don't know, maybe the spirits were just going,
there you go.
Do this.
Yeah, poison path is an interesting path. Because I didn't know that it was called the poison path before I started doing the design for the poison path by Become Living God, by Eric Quetting and Edgar Kerwell. I was doing the design for it, and I read through it, and it was really interesting. And then I got to see, you doing also the poison path aspect. So poison path essentially is like working with, let's just really water down, with toxic plants spiritually.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a whole aspect of poison medicine where it's like they can, the things that can harm you, things that can kill you, can also heal you. So like one of the examples I give is the plant foxglove, Digitalis purpura. Now, you're not going to have a good time if you eat that, because you'll probably die. But one of the plant chemicals, and there's a lot of chemistry and scientific knowledge that goes into working with plants on that level, because you have to kind of understand what chemical does what and how it interacts. But from foxglove, there was a cardiac medication called digoxin that was used for particular cardiac issues. So now this thing that could kill you also has healing properties for people with specific ailments.
Yeah, I mean, that's what medicine, kind of started out with. It's like, people testing out things, and every kind of toxic thing you can find in a really small dose is actually beneficial for you if it doesn't kill you.
Right. I mean, there's different ways that you can use it. Like belladonna, Atropa belladonna is its scientific name. Well, Atropa is because it is high in the chemical atropine. Now, if you've ever gone to the eye doctor and had your eyes dilated, you've had atropine in your eyes.
Interesting.
Because a lot of like especially with belladonna and the different nightshades, like they dilate your pupils because of that atropine content. So like things will seem brighter, more vivid and stuff. You're not having a hallucinogenic experience. It's just you've got the dilated pupils.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how modern medicine started out. It started out from using nature, using herbs, and then gradually moving into chemistry.
Yeah, I heard heroin cough syrup was great.
Yeah, don't they use cough syrup and mix it with Sprite and call it, what did they call it? Something the rappers like to drink that. I don't know what they call it, but
I've heard about that. I used to make a NyQuil teeny. Mix NyQuil with a little bit of orange juice. I forget what I called it. It was like a Nye driver or something.
Does that taste good, actually?
NyQuil and orange juice, yes. Yeah. It's the cherry NyQuil, not the green ass flavor NyQuil.
Okay.
There's
Yeah, that's
and it's green ass flavor. I don't know what the flavor is. That's what I call it.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's like cough syrup, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it has a very it'll make you sleep. So it has a sedating effect to it.
Okay. Yeah, if you mix that with alcohol and other things, I guess that's why people take it as a drug. That makes sense. But that reminds me of Jägermeister and mixing that with different things. I just like the consistency of that. It's just like that. Sorry for everyone that's also German. I'm a German who hates Jägermeister. Just saying.
Yeah, I've got Jägermeister trauma, so.
Yeah, me too. From my teenage years, because here it's kind of available for you since you're like 16. You're not supposed to drink liquor with 16, but it is what it is in Germany. So we drink that.
There's a few bars around that have what do they call them, Jägerators. Like it's like Jägermeister, like chilled Jägermeister on tap or something.
Yeah, Jaeger bombs. That's also apparently a thing.
Yeah, they're gross. I had one once. I was just like, oh,
yeah,
I don't ever want this again.
So since we're talking about alcohol, something that you inspired me to do is like do spell fires, because I use alcohol and stuff like that to burn things or to create a flame. But I always just used alcohol as it was. There was no necessary, point for me to, to do anything else with it. Or I didn't even know that you could. I just never thought about that, even though it's kind of logical that you can. And I took a look at your website and what you offer as spell fires, and then never came across that, and then I started to, think about it. And I was channeling some stuff from spirits, and I started to create my own spell fires by adding, herbs and other things into grain alcohol and other alcohol things that are high percentage alcohol to kind of create a specific effect within the alcohol. So if I do ritual for hires, for example, this is from the last one from the Lilith rite that I've done with Connor Candle. The fourth time I'm mentioning you, bro. Just saying. I specifically consecrated that within Lilith and the four sisters, and added a lot of specific herbs, menses. I know sometimes witchcraft can be disgusting, but just things to draw power from, and the effect was different. Because I tested out things just using normal alcohol and then using that and putting the spirit into the spirit, creating like the spirit physically. And it was different. It was way more powerful using it that way. So I got
a lot of fun stuff you can do magically with alcohols that not even for ritual use, even for just like consumption and stuff. You can make your own like bitters and like herbal infused alcohols and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just made them to set things on fire.
Yeah, I don't like to mix my own alcohols. I actually got a recipe book of witchcraft cocktails. I still haven't found the time to try that out because of COVID. You can't really do much. We're still in lockdown. I'm not even bring friends to me, and it's like when we do. So like usually we have one point where it's like a good friend of mine. We go there to her place. But it's not the same because we got to go home somehow. There's no taxis driving. So what's the point of getting hammered, just, sitting at your home? Like I want to go to our bar and stuff like that. So I never really had the opportunity yet to, do my own grains and stuff, but I burn shit with it.
Yeah. Like, I know. Yeah. Like I'm trying to think of like, have I seen a taxi cab since COVID started? I know Uber's been running the whole time, but like, I'm not sure about taxis.
Do you actually still have taxis or cabs in the States? Because you all use Uber.
Yeah, there are. They're usually more like around airports and like train stations, but mostly it's Uber now. But I mean, even the taxis have apps now and stuff like that. Because it used to be that Uber was way cheaper than taxi cabs, but now depending on, because I had an incident that I had to go to the ER in the middle of the night. It was $11 to get to the 2.5 miles to the ER at whatever it was, 2:00 in the morning. When I was ready to come home at like 4 or 5 in the morning, it was $40.
Oh, okay.
For the same exact route.
Yeah, see, we don't have Uber here. It's illegal. That business model is illegal in Germany. I don't know why. I've looked into it years ago. but we just have cabs. But I remember being in Canada and just like looking up the Uber. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go there, and it was kind of cheaper, than using a cab. But how did we come here to taxis and cabs?
So we started something about alcohol and drinking, and then home, and now we're talking about taxi cabs and Ubers.
Oh, there you go. That was fast. Yeah, I just completely lost the conversation and didn't remember how we got here.
Yeah, I did too.
That's an interesting. That's actually
right.
that's an interesting segue into something else. So have you experienced, a difference in your abilities to do magic when you are intoxicated by alcohol?
I honestly don't drink that much.
Okay.
I will use like my flying ointments and tinctures and things like that, which are specifically designed to open up, spiritual pathways and things like that and you can use them in ritual. So I tend to do that more. More likely if I'm drunk, I'm just going to fall asleep.
Okay. I think that depends on the alcohol with me.
Yeah.
Now, look, for everyone that's listening and watching, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm German, so we like to drink sometimes, and I don't have an alcohol issue. That's why I actually can drink, and I like to drink sometimes, but I enjoy it. I don't overdo it.
I mean, I drink a little bit here and there, but like I'll go months without drinking and not realize it,
Yeah, same.
Same. I'll have a glass of wine, or I'm re-exploring mixed drinks a little bit, but I like fruity cocktails.
Okay. Yeah, I like whiskey and beer. Not too much beer actually. I'm more of a whiskey guy or wine type of guy.
I don't like beer.
But going to one of my favorite bars, which is in right next the next town of me, which is called the Sternen. So this is kind of low-key advertisement. Probably no one that's listening to this will ever go there, but just saying. He has a pentagram, and the whole bar is actually kind of modeled after, kind of like a witchy rock atmosphere, like a rock cave. You have like walls plastered with posters and everyone smoking inside. It kind of has that cool old school rocky metal vibe to it. And that guy I've known since I was a kid. I actually don't like him anymore because he's an asshole. I'm not going to say why, but when we used to go there all the time, on the weekends when I was younger. I know I still look young, but it's like when I was a teenager, which is like years ago. It's 7, 8, 9, somewhere around that.
Yeah, I was a teenager. Like, I have to do math to figure out how long ago I was a teenager. They were talking like at least. Okay, so almost 30 years ago.
Well, see, there you go. Yeah, I didn't have like so many solar returns yet in this incarnation.
So 27 years ago was the last time I was a teenager.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
maybe if I did the math right. I'm not good at math.
Yeah, me neither. I hate numbers. Sometimes I love them depending on how I use them. But going to the story of that. So when I was a teenager and growing up here in Bible Belt Germany, there's a lot of alcohol that goes around, a lot of beer, and a lot of the whole tradition here, the whole zeitgeist, the whole culture is sometimes based around alcohol. It's not as bad as in Russia, for example, but we definitely have an alcohol culture here. So we used to go to bars and just have fun, drinking all the time, just being a weekend alcoholic back then. And I was already doing magic and all these crazy stuff. And back then I was in the closet as a witch, not fully open about it, but as soon as I drunk something, I had the weirdest discussions with the most, I don't know, like normal people that you can imagine, like someone that's totally not interested into that stuff. I would just, talk about witchcraft and magic for hours. And he was like, okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. You're drunk. And when I still observe that sometimes when you drink alcohol, you kind of, what do you say in English? You feel more comfortable within yourself. Like your barriers just kind of
sometimes refer to it as a social lubricant. It puts you a little more ease. It casts off inhibitions and things like that.
Inhibitions, yeah, completely gone depending on how much you drink. Mm-hmm. And also it opens up for me spiritual faculties where when I drink the specific spirits, some different things come from that. And I remember a lot of times when I was drinking high spirits, like high grain alcohol spirits, and doing some little witchy things with it while I was drinking, when I left the bar and I was walking home from there, I started calling on spirits, just being completely drunk, and being so comfortable within myself and magic that I couldn't walk straight. So I was walking my way back home like this. I was like, oh, there's a rock. Let me grab the rock, and then like, okay, I place you here. And I was like, oh, there's a stick. Let me grab stick, and then I grabbed stick. And then I just done a whole ritual circle in the middle of the street in the night, So thank God there were no fucking cars. And then I was doing some sort of magic because I was intoxicated. I couldn't meditate or was not in a trance state that I have when I'm not drinking.
You're in an altered state of perception and reality that you can do things that are different. I mean, I've had similar experiences like that with other substances that shall not be named. But,
Yeah, that's the whole substance thing with magic. What I wanted to say is like, we can go into that. So I've done my magic when I was being drunk and actually had great results with that somehow, but it's definitely not my go-to. So I don't drink before I do magic. Definitely not. That would be toxic as hell. But I remember going through a tunnel, which again in the middle of the street, just like not having a care in the world, and then just having chalk with me. Don't ask me why I had chalk with me, probably because I knew I was going to do something with chalk, and then drawing a sigil on the street of, I think it was Luganana from Necronomicon. And I had a beer bottle, so I was just drunk and out of it. I don't recommend this to anyone. I took the beer bottle and was like smash against the wall, and so I had the sharp thing, and I was like, slit myself with that, and I was just dripping with blood. I'm completely out of it, but at this moment, I'm just drunk, completely intoxicated. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but I was dripping the blood, and it was in a different altered state. And as I was dripping the blood on the sigil, the sigil started moving in weird ways, and I could hear screams coming, echoing from that tunnel. And I was just there, like taking out my shirt and screaming, "Look, come to me, and then bring me this, bring me that, or like make me aware of you." And then a few days afterwards, when I was sober, some things happened. But when I was screaming that, a truck came, right in front of me, and he was like, honking really loudly. Yeah, can you get out of the fucking way? So, magic and
how would you say that in German? I want to hear it shouted in German.
Oh, like the name Luganana?
No. What you say to the guy yelling at you to get the fuck out of the way? I need to fully immerse myself in that in German.
Oh well, like the guy, I couldn't hear him. I just only could hear him honking with a truck, like
gotcha.
And it was like, oh my fucking God, I have to get out of here. So that's why I'm saying this. Like, you can use alcohol and other substances within magic. Just be careful and aware that you can get to a point where it's pointless in a way, where it's just like you're just doing it because you
have a safety friend with you.
Exactly, which is maybe a segue into other substances like that are different from alcohol, which is like LSD or DMT. Do you have any experience with that?
No, I always was with hallucinogens. I was like, my reality is bent enough. I don't need help.
Okay.
But it's something I'm more now, a little more, as I've been working more with like the entheogenic herbs and stuff like that. I've smoked salvia before, which is just weird.
I heard that salvia. It's like, isn't it like a mixture of like having like psychoactive things in your brain going off, and like between that and weed?
Yeah, you have two entirely different experiences. One, if your eyes are open, and two, if your eyes are closed. Because if your eyes are closed, you completely like almost depersonalize, and you can kind of go out of your body with it, but it's like you'll close your eyes, you'll be like, okay, I'm suddenly like the sidewalk and someone is riding a bicycle over me. This is weird. Why are people walking on me? I don't like this.
Okay, that's interesting. But you've never,
like, if you have your eyes open, like, the everything just becomes a lot more vivid, and like, suddenly,
so it's like mushrooms.
Small elephants in my closet, because you're not actually visually seeing an elephant. It's just the mass of crap that's in my closet kind of visually forms something that I was seeing as an elephant.
That's similar to LSD and mushrooms. I
It's a
was
little different because it's not like I've seen elephants walk around. It's just like, oh, that pile of scarves up there somehow now looks like an elephant.
okay. Yeah, well, you don't see. I was actually disappointed the first time I took LSD. Now, we're not advocating for drug use. Do not use any illegal substances wherever you are. Make sure that you're safe and secure. Um, but if you want to experience things, do it on your own risk. So when I was experiencing LSD for the first time, that was last year. Yeah, last year. I was anticipating, seeing things like moving in front of me, like you see in the movie and stuff like that. When they say, "Oh, you took LSD," I see flowers dancing in front of me. That was not the case. But you see the colors more vividly, and you have a different morphing sense of your reality. That's why it's called acid, because it's like really acidic. Like reality becomes acidic to you, and it's like you feel acidic as well. It's a weird feeling. And it's different from mushrooms. But I remember trying to do an experiment with it with LSD. So we took LSD because my first time I was being chilled about it. I didn't want to do any rituals necessarily because I also couldn't because we were stuck in my apartment. It was hot as fuck out there. It was summer. I had air conditioner, thank God. But we were stuck here, and I was tripping with someone else that I didn't really know, so that was uncomfortable. And I didn't want to make them more uncomfortable. It's a weird feeling when you're high on LSD. It's like, you tripping? Yeah, I'm tripping, bro. You tripping too? Yeah, you tripping me more out. It's like, okay, I'm just going. Let me go.
I'm tripping balls.
Yeah. So I was laying out my circle and I was trying to see, how it differs from like normal state magic. And it kind of opens, every kind of substance opens up different gateways into specific realms. But what I definitely realized, if you do magic on LSD, it's somehow like you're in a pocket dimension. It's like because of your intoxication, the magic you do stays inside of that, but it doesn't go out, because I don't know why it is, but I've tried doing magic and nothing happened from it. Not even spirits appeared, nothing. I couldn't do it. It's like I was in a bubble, and I couldn't manifest anything.
It's almost
else.
like you're too open that there's nothing to focus in on.
Or that could be the case. That's because I thought they're all kind of like similar, like LSD, mushrooms, and DMT. But it's not the case. They're different avenues for that. Yeah. And I took mushrooms the first time when I was 18, I think. And actually we drank alcohol. We came from a bar, took mushrooms, and that was a real spiritual experience for me. That was crazy. Because that was the first.
Psilocybin mushrooms are like more and more scientific studies are showing like even just amazing healing benefits for people with depression and anxiety and addiction issues and things like that. Same with ayahuasca, like I mean, that to treat addiction, like that'll just knock it. Like they've done things where it's like they've taken heroin addicts, given them ayahuasca, and then they're just like, we have no desire to ever do heroin again.
Yeah.
And heroin is one of the hardest things to come off of, like for addicts to come off of.
Yeah, that's why I would never try that. Yeah. But I want to do ayahuasca one day. Yeah, it's just different because you have different compounds in it where it comes from, the plants and stuff like that. It's different from DMT. But I remember going through a breakup last year and I wanted to die. Going through all the pain and misery and stuff like that, and trying to build myself up, and then opportunities came and like someone sent me DMT. And I wanted to take it. But I wanted to somehow get over the pain and stuff like that. So I wanted to depart and have that experience of dying and then coming back. But I thought that, well, I was being a smartass, being like, oh, it's the first time I do DMT. Let's do the hardcore road and let's mix it with black magic. Don't recommend it. Do not recommend it.
Do not try this at home, kids.
Yeah, no, do not. Everything I'm going to say now, don't try it. You can if you want to, but don't. Believe me. If you've never done it before, you're not used to the substance, do it the first time just without anything.
How you feel, and then
as you feel comfortable. But I was channeling Lilith and her sigil, and I was using the DMT, and I consecrated the DMT, and I took her sigil, I burned her sigil, and I mixed the ashes with the DMT. And then on the night when I took it, I had the first hit. And I had someone help me, but it didn't really work because they were actually scared because, oh my God, you're doing an illegal drug. Like you got to hold the pipe like that. It was just dumb. So I took it and then I fell back and I didn't really have that experience. It was not enough. So I kept the rest of it for another day. And then I was like, I'm doing it now. Fuck it, by myself. So first hit, like, okay. Second hit, it's hard. It's like it tastes like tennis balls, literally. Like you smoking plastic. It's really bad. So but
Yeah, as I always describe, what is snorting meth like? It's like snorting gasoline and then someone punches you in the nose.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, try this at home, kids.
it's not a pleasant experience smoking that, and you need someone actually that helps you so you can take the last hit and you can go off into the elf land.
Yeah,
That didn't happen.
Salvia's the same way. It's like you take a hit, you're like, take a hit, and then you're like, and then you just fall over.
Exactly, and I was scared to fall over because there were like candles and shit. So I took it, and I was close to the last hit, and I couldn't take it anymore, and then it went really dark for me. I lost sense of time. I didn't know where I was, how I got here, or how long I was stuck here. It felt like eternity, literally. I was just like, from one moment to another, I don't know how long I've been here.
DMT trips are very short too. It's what, like 10-15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Same thing with salvia. It's like once you hit the I'm falling over stage, and then you just sit back up and you're like, okay, I'm good now. It's like, yeah, maybe 10-15 minutes has passed.
Yeah,
it just elongates time and makes it very.
It's weird. It's fucking weird. And it didn't have the experience of going out of my body and seeing these elves and seeing myself in a higher realm. I stayed here, but it was in the middle. Like I was between the whale. And then dark figures appeared, and I don't know if it was Lilith, but a dark figure was in front of me hovering, and it put me to the ground, and I was heavily breathing, and I thought I was dying, and I didn't know when it stopped. So I had to call someone. I was like, I'm tripping out, help me. So that was like, there was other stuff that went into that, but just do not try black magic with DMT for your first time if you don't have anyone to help you, or if it's your first time.
Yes. Yeah, there are different, I mean, drugs can do, and even just other drugs, I remember one time, I don't know what, I don't know, it was probably cocaine or something, but I got stuck in this weird, like, I wasn't asleep, I wasn't awake, but it was just this stream of conscious imagery, just like that I had no control over. And at one point I was like, because it was like I was starting to realize I was detaching from like ego, super ego, id and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna go find my id. And apparently I found it in a hotel mini bar in New York City, hiding behind a can of Sprite. And when I found it, it said kill, fuck, die, and just poofed away. Okay. I was like, well, okay then.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I just was in this weird, like, in-between state of just like, I couldn't, it was just like when you see those kind of like stream of conscious imagery, and it's just random, like flipping through the TV or YouTube or whatever, and just watching a clip of like videos, and it's just all this random stuff, and you have no control over it. And
okay,
but yeah, the only part I really remember was like the id being like hiding behind a Sprite can in a mini bar.
Okay, and that was from cocaine?
I think so. It was a long time ago.
Okay, interesting, because you have ADHD, right? Like you said that earlier. That's why I'm mentioning it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned that. Yeah. So
I talk about it all the time. So
okay, you guys have a high amount of dopamine in your brain already. So I heard that when people that have ADHD take cocaine, they just feel good. They're not highly energized. Is that the case?
Depends how much cocaine you do.
Okay.
Cocaine again is one of those things like that's really kind of like, unless you're just blowing lines like every hour all night and stuff like that, it's in and out of your system. Like for me, I process it a lot faster than other people do.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because like I remember taking speed. So like this whole discussion about drugs is kind of interesting. But one thing we can definitely say for sure is like try to stay clean, be healthy about it, have a balance with what you take.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've done drugs, but like I just never had like an addictive, like I'm like, all right, I can do this, and then just be like, all right, I'm not doing this again for, till next time, whenever that may be, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. I mean, I haven't done any of that, like,
yeah, it's good for you if you don't have an addictive personality.
Yeah, I haven't done speed in like over 10 years or something. Probably almost that for Coke as well. So I just don't have a need for it in my life anymore. I mean, when I was young, I was more of a party girl and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've seen the devastating results of addiction and have lost way too many people to it over the years. So it's something that I'm very like, I'll reminisce of the glory days, of weird shit that happened, but I don't really have any desire to go back to that.
Yeah, me neither.
Man, after like a binge like that, you're gonna feel like shit for a really long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you keep doing drugs, and then that becomes a bigger problem.
And that's the devil's cycle. They take drugs to get off the drugs, and that's not good. When I overdone myself on speed. I think there was also cocaine mixed within that, and I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep for 2 fucking days. I was up, and I was like, I was having cold shivers down my spine every 2 seconds, and I couldn't handle it. It's like, I want to go to sleep. I'm tired, but I can't sleep.
Yeah, last time I think I was having sleep deprivation hallucinations. Like, it was really like, I mean, I wasn't doing any magic at the time, but I was just seeing all these sigils and symbols and like all this crazy stuff. And I literally wanted to get up and like grab like a pen or pencil and like draw them on the wall. But yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I haven't done it since. And that was very long time ago.
Well, don't do drugs, kids. Let's just say that.
No.
Okay. We'll do cut here. Is there something else we should talk about?
Let's see.
Because now it's kind of difficult from going from drugs to something.
Drugs to what? What with drugs?
But it's really going well, by the way.
Yeah. What would be a good segue from drugs?
I have a brain fart right now.
Yeah, I just did a podcast on Tuesday with Barbie, like talking. It's for don't say anything about it. She hasn't launched it. She's recorded a couple other for it as well. But it's the how to spot an occult predator series.
Oh, nice! She's actually doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I like that.
I'm not naming names or anything, but
yes.
I guess maybe going into a little bit, maybe we could talk a little bit about like circling back to like trusting your intuition.
Oh, that's good.
Like working within the craft with other people. And like you work a lot with Connor, so you have a trusting relationship with
Let's mention him again.
Hi, Connor.
Okay, let's okay, you do the segue into that.
Okay. So yeah, anyways, moving on from our glory days of partying and experimentation. One thing to kind of wrap everything up that we've talked about a little bit is using your intuition and judgment, because as we've talked about that, whether it was doing drugs, things with how we're doing our magic and doing an astral travel and things like that, is using your intuition and your judgment with things. And whether that comes to like watching a witch talk video or, don't do that at home, kids, with DMT and black magic. And, especially when you're working with other people in the community, is because, we've seen things go not so great, actually, between other, occult practitioners. And I've approached a lot of things. Like, I'm very professional in what I do. Like, I keep my working relationships professional. I have an attorney. I have, contracts and
personal assistant.
Yes. and things like that, to put the literal mundane protections in place, because like if you're working on a project with someone and another person like gets pissed about something, a year from now, that could completely fuck up all the work that you did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just saw that happening in our little community just a few days ago, weeks ago. Yeah, you got to be mindful of who you work together with, because like in the left hand path and magical communities, you have a lot of this is not how it works. This is my gnosis.
Doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. I'm doing it right. And, I'm always trying to stay balanced with like, look, this is your personal gnosis, but it's the same thing with religion. I can totally accept that, and we can agree to disagree on some things here and there, try to see the balance between that, but don't come to me waving your shit in my fucking face. That's the fucking truth. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And that's
it's what cracks me up is for like, as like independent and like the teachings of Luciferianism and the left-hand path that teaches you. I'm like sometimes some people are so dogmatic and like indoctrinated into things, and it's like, do you guys not see this? Like, they're approaching it in that same rigid structure that we're supposedly not a part of, and it's supposed to be not.
Yeah, I know.
You're Satanisming wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, everyone can believe whatever they want, but just don't wave it in others' faces, because it's the same thing when you have someone that doesn't know about Satanism, thinking that everyone worships the devil. That's not the thing. There's so many different ways of being a Satanist. There's theistic ones, atheistic ones, and everything in between. And that's the same thing with magic and other traditions. And a lot of times, you can agree to disagree on certain things, but make sure that you always know that your experience might very differ from what others have experienced, and that's sadly a toxic thing happening within little communities like ours, where it's like, I know all about Satan, and actually Satan is this and that, and going completely bonkers, and being completely lost within mythical fantasy instead of reality, and taking things at completely face value all the time, and this is not healthy at all. I remember that, for example, TikTok. Once again, TikTok. I saw a TikTok of a girl saying that she spoke to Lucifer. That is not maybe the perfect segue into this, but there's a reason why I say this. And I saw her saying that she channeled Lucifer, and Lucifer told her that he's not dark and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, interesting. Continue. And then she started saying that Lucifer, she asked her, why do people think you're evil and stuff like that, and why do people make blood sacrifices? And then she said the name of Lucifer. Oh, I actually don't like that. I had to clean up after people for thousands of years. Like, who would like a bloody goat head on the altar? That's just disgusting. I'm like, stop right there. Okay. It's like, okay, I don't want to diminish anything or like, put you down saying you didn't channel Lucifer. Okay. Well, at the same time, knowing from my experience with Lucifer and everyone else, these deities don't give a fuck. If like some deities will, say, I don't want to sacrifice, of a human being or an animal. At the same time, they don't really care. If you offer your blood, they will gradually take that. And it's not about the physical aspect of having a bloody goat head on your altar. It's about the sacrifice and the energy that comes from that. And people have been sacrificing animals and way back humans for a long time to deities and gods. So if you're, saying that's, and it's still do in the shadows, that's also happening, sadly. Well, it depends. But don't come to people saying that that's the ultimate truth, because it's probably not.
Right. I mean, it goes a little bit into that, like, unverified personal gnosis and verified personal gnosis. Like, a lot of what we do in the community is, we'll sit and talk about, like, hey, this thing came through Lucifer, and when talking to other people, we've all kind of we've had similar experiences. Like, one of the things that I was early-ish when I was working with Lucifer, when I was setting up my dark goddess altar, I just feel this little, you forgot someone. I'm like, really? So now, I don't know if you can see it if I lean over a little bit, but I have a little altar to myself here as well. I'm like, okay. I make an altar. I'm like, this is the most egotistically, okay, fine. But other people have had the same thing.
Yeah.
You're
not the only one.
People like, oh yeah, Lucifer had me do the same thing too. I'm like, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah, you're worshiping yourself, and it's not egotistical or like you're not a narcissist.
Worshiping yourself, it's celebrating yourself. It's embracing that self-love in a non-egotistical, narcissistic kind of way. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not worshiping. Some people might worship themselves, and that's narcissistic, but you can take a spiritual aspect and say, because everyone has a higher self,
I work with these entities, I don't worship them.
Yeah. Exactly.
I will make offerings to them and things like that, but I'm not like, whoa,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's
going back a little bit to of what we were talking about earlier with working with other people in the community is establishing relationships, trust, and boundaries with things. And knowing that, if you're working on a project with someone, how not to get screwed over in the end, because not everyone comes into this having a highly astute business acumen of understanding intellectual property rights and copyright and things like that. Or if we work on a collaborative project, what are the terms of those collaborative projects? Because if you're just doing it on a handshake deal, that's going to open up a whole can of worms for things to go eight shades of sideways down the road.
Yeah, I think when it comes to copyright, that's I've seen people trying to copyright something where it's like, bruh, this has been done for years. You can't copyright something like that. Like a road opener rituals. Like that doesn't mean you fucking created that. You didn't reinvent the wheel. It has been around for a long time. But there's things that are copyrighted. Talking about the Garrett's, for example, with the master key that JS or Barbie, I think it was Jesse, channeled, and now is their official logo. You can use that personally. Like that's how copyright works. Use it for your own craft. Use it. You don't even have to give credit. Just print it out, use it. But as soon as you publish something with that and you put it out into the open, make sure that it's okay with the copyright, because that is actually copyrighted by them. That's their logo, that's their sigil, that's what they've done. But if it's out in the open, like witchcraft, we take a lot of things from different people and we take our own spin on that.
It would be different using like the sigil of Lucifer, because that's just something that's much more widely, like, who knows who originally channeled that or drew it or something, because these things have been around for a very long time. So they kind of like, there's some things that exist outside the realm of copyright. But, if I use that sigil of Lucifer to create a piece of art that I copyrighted and that was then the piece of art that's copyrighted would be a different entity. Not saying that you couldn't use the sigil that's in it, but not that actual piece of art.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it takes 100 years until something is part of the public domain. And, like old footage you can now use because it's part of that, like old Disney stuff and just black and white footage, you can actually use that. And other things, like sound effects that have been around for years, that's now public because there's no copyright on that anymore. But especially within witchcraft and in our community, be aware of what you take from others, like what you take in your own craft, and make sure that you give them credit, just be a humble, nice human being. If you can't do that, then you're an asshole, and that's fine. Everyone has a right to exist, even assholes. We can all be that. But you can kind of spread there's a German saying for that, where you spread the corn from the shaft. I don't know if that's an English term, where it's like you kind of like separate the man from the boys, or the girls from the woman. It's like, who you can trust and who you cannot trust, because
and trusting your intuition is really really important. And also, ask, maybe not asking around in an inappropriately gossipy kind of way, but getting a general vibe of what that person's work is like, what their prior working relationships are like, because a lot of people who can be problematic have a history of being problematic. And if you're coming to something new, you might not know that until someone goes, yeah, you don't want to be working with that
person. Yeah, true. And I've been burned as well in the past by just things that happen behind the scenes. But intuition is very important, and a lot of times
spirits too.
Yeah, you can just do divination or just trust your gut instinct with some things.
Because I always feel like, and I was talking about this in another podcast, was that a lot of times when I always say the spidey senses are tingling, where I'm picking up on something and I'm going, no, you're just being paranoid. No, you're being judgmental. Give this person a chance. And I'm always like making excuses and talking myself down from it.
Mm.
And then it comes back up and goes, hey, you know what? You were right after all.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's difficult, because I have that within my personalities where it's like I see something going on, but I could also overanalyze, because that's what I tend to do a lot of times, is overanalyze stuff. And at the end, it doesn't really turn out to be that way. But sometimes it's definitely your intuition, ringing the bells like, hey, be aware and careful about how you're going to move with that person and how you're going to, work with them. And that's just the whole intuition part is also important with magic, for example. It's like when you do magic, you can do, as you said, go with the flow and then trust your intuition and knowing, okay, I need this and that, and that's enough, and I know that that's going to work. And then ending the spell knowingly, having put as much energy, exhausting yourself within that okay, this is going to manifest, letting go from it and trusting your intuition, that trusting yourself first of all, that you've done the work necessary that can manifest, and then your intuition that the spell is working. But if you hold on to that,
you're going, oh, why isn't this working yet? I don't know what I'm doing. I have no power, and this spell doesn't work. Man, magic sucks. Yeah. Nothing's gonna happen. And I've been guilty of that. I'll admit, there's times where I'm like,
yeah, me too.
I keep doing this and nothing happens. And then you just have to kind of let it go. That kind of set it and forget it kind of thing. After you've done all the work, things will start falling into place. Or there's something else you need to do that will reveal itself to you. Like there was some stuff I was working towards, and I was kind of like, I feel like I'm not getting enough move, or there's not movement. And I've been working with Lucifer a lot, and I realized I'm like, oh, I need to do a pact with Lucifer. As soon as I did the first pact with Lucifer, everything I needed to manifested within 24 days.
Nice.
So, it was like, okay, well, clearly that was the X factor, was doing that pact.
Yeah, and you can,
I'd done all the stuff up to that. It was just kind of like I needed to do something else to kind of push it.
Yeah, and then you'll figure it out by trusting the spirits or your intuition, and then knowing, okay, this is what I got to do, and then do it, and then let go. I think that letting go part is hard for most people, even when you start out. And sometimes, even I struggle with that. For example, I have the easiest time doing magic for others, for example, and it works every time I do it. It's like I just do the spell for them and I put the energy in it, but I can leave it because I don't have the desire then, like I put myself.
Yeah, you're not emotionally attached to the outcome. I mean, you want the best outcomes for your client, obviously, but you're not like, I'm never going to find love again, or I can't pay my rent, or, any of the things. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of, the most probably the top 3 of like ritual and spell work for hire is going to be love related, money related, or baneful stuff. And then there's other stuff beyond that, but that's the kind of bread and butter.
Yeah. Or you ask them, it's like, okay, you're approaching me. What do you want? Oh, I want this and this and that and this and this and that. And can you do that for me? He's like, okay, for this one,
things.
You need a doctor. For this one, go see a psychiatrist. I was like, no. It's like, some people come.
Yeah, and you have to be comfortable, like with, as practitioners and stuff, when people come to you with, the things they want to work on and stuff, they have to be willing to do that work, because, you can be bouncing from practitioner to practitioner trying to get the same thing, and you're never getting results because you're not doing any of the work that needs to be done. Like, J.S. Garrett says, did you do the fucking ritual?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's how I work with my clients when they come to me. It's like I explain to them like how I'm going to do everything. They get a ritual recording. Within the ritual recording, I make sure that it can kind of work with me if they want to. But then at the end, it's like I do another consultation, and even before that, I'll tell them what they have to do afterwards. So I actually am a life consultant sometimes.
Yeah.
Which I didn't learn, but I have an easy time doing that when I explain to them the steps that they now have to take. And then that's that. I made my part of the deal. Now go ahead and do your stuff.
Yeah.
But then it becomes difficult for these people to let go of their desires as well, so they can kind of mess that up as well.
Yeah,
so
you sometimes have to let go and fall into the abyss and know you're going to come out the other side okay, or not.
Or not, and then you can have another try at life.
Right. And I think one of the things that to kind of touch on, because I wanted to talk a little bit about this, because I know I've seen a lot of people posting about, maybe you posted something about like love spells and stuff like that, because that a lot of people come to magicians, especially Black magicians and stuff, for love spells. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of controversy around love spells, whether you're doing them for yourself or whether you're doing them for clients. Because, I mean, the way I look at it, there's different ways to do love spells.
Mhm.
And there's ways like where I feel like okay with it is when you're just putting that energy out there. It's sort of like, it's not that I want to mind control you into falling in love with me and, leave your wife and we'll live happily ever after. Because that becomes more of a manipulative kind of love spell. And some people are comfortable doing that, some people aren't. But to say do like a sweetening jar, like a honey jar for something, if you had a fight, you want to just change and clear the energy a little bit to open things up so physically you can do a love spell for reconciliation in a way that's proactive and healthy and not necessarily manipulative. Because there's some people, I've seen it in different communities too, that find when it comes to love spells, like we're in the age of consent, and it's, if you're doing something to deliberately manipulate someone, you're violating their consent.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
do things in a
that's
way that doesn't do that.
yeah. I think it's difficult, especially with magic, because there's no magic police essentially, and you can do anything you want. But that shows if you're a decent human being or if you manipulative.
Mhm.
So one thing I recommend to everyone that comes to me, for example, for love spells, when they come to me, is like, hey, I want this person. It's like, do not start a marriage with a kidnapping. Just
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen that meme. Yeah.
yeah, don't just my recommendation. But if you still want to, hey, yes, I'll do what I can to help you out with that. I'll do that. I'll put myself in your shoes. But after I'm done, I'm cleansing myself of that karma, still having done that for you. And then I'm good with my life and you go on and you have whatever you experience you need to have. Because in that case, if they come to you asking for that specific thing, you're like, I want this person to fall in love with me, but there's actually no connection, then
Yeah.
there's other things that go into that. But if they want that, hey, sure, I'm the universe giving you that experience, whatever you need, whatever lesson you need to learn from that. I'm just here to deliver that on to you, for you.
Because
But
it's also
it's
about having realistic expectations of what you expect to get out of that. And some of it, I feel like, in sometimes with love spells, it's not, you're doing more work for yourself than you are actually to influence the other person in a way. It's like you're
yeah,
changing energies of things and you're doing things to manifest, but it's almost like an aspect of shadow work and learning self-love in the process of doing love magic.
yes, exactly. And
It's
that
not
part,
like, "Ooh, I'm gonna make you fall in love with me by doing, lighting a candle and shouting oogity boogity." It's just
well, you can make a love slave, with magic. That's definitely possible. But is it true love?
exactly. It's like, yeah, you might have the person, but do you really?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's going to be a shit
Blurs
show.
the lines of, well, what's real? Like, if you want that person to really love you, and you're manipulating them into it, it's being dishonest.
Yeah, and then evaluate why you want that person. So, for example, when I wanted to get with my ex back then, I wanted her. Like you and me, yes, I want you. But there was no nothing that I thought that could happen. So instead of because I didn't feel comfortable with myself, why would she want me? I'm this and that and that. And I started looking at myself. I'm like, okay, I gotta change these things around me. So I started changing myself first. I started to slim down, work out, and all of this. And then by changing myself, I was more confident. So I saw her more often. And then the way I was approaching her was also differently. So
Mhm.
I used magic within that to push that, to make her actually notice me, and then go in and then take that challenge and it's like I'm hunting for and see if that works, and then further pushing that and pushing that with magic. Well, at the same time, you got to be careful with how much magic you use.
Right.
Didn't end well, because the way I got her was also like she cheated with she cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend. So I was already together with a cheater, you know. I was like, not good, you know, like you're cheating for me. So are you going to cheat on me as well? You know, it's like, don't cheat on me, you know, because you're cheating your boyfriend with me. Um, and I knew there were other things that, you know, probably didn't end well, you know, because she was just completely a little bit different, and I saw red flags at the beginning, so I was worried. Then my life started to fall apart because of other magical shit that was happening because of path workings, and I lost myself. I grew fat again, you know, I lost my confidence, and I was not the person that she actually fell in love with, you know, so the illusion there broke. And
Yeah,
then
it's sort of like, you know, I get that totally, because it's like when you're doing the path work, and sometimes like you realize, especially over this past year with everything, with all the quarantines and lockdowns and isolation and all that, it's just, you know, I took the time to make a better version of myself. I'm still me, but you know, I shed a lot, you know, I did a lot of shadow work to become a better person. And you know, it's just,
it's important.
and that's for you, that's you, you know, doing like self-love kind of rituals. Even if you're kind of like tricking yourself into thinking like you're doing a love spell on someone, you're almost kind of doing a love spell on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and it depends on on how heavy you want it to, you know, go
Yeah.
out. And for example, with this specific entity, human being, um, I was worried that, you know, I would lose her, so I did a binding spell, you know, but I didn't do it forcefully, like behind her back. I was doing it in a way that she would do it willingly with me,
Mm.
so I wouldn't lose her. But that was actually also backfiring on me because now she had the feeling that was constantly in her head that I was, you know, taking the air away from her because I was constantly like, you know, too close to her.
Yeah.
And that also affected me magically. And she couldn't handle it, and then everything just fell apart, you know. And that's why within the relationship I'm in right now, everything happened organically,
Mm.
and I would never do anything magically to kind of like do like anything with our relationship instead of hello cat.
Yes, Corey
um
has come back for his second appearance.
Such a pretty kitty. You know, I wouldn't do anything that would kind of like manipulate anything. I would just enhance things, you know,
Yeah,
like
exactly. And that's the thing,
strengthen the bond.
changing, because I when people, you know, when I talk to people about magic, I'm like, magic is a lot about energy, frequency, and vibration. If you want to change, you know, if you're in a bad place in your relationship, what you can change the energy and the frequency and the vibration of the relationship without, you know, manipulating the person or mind controlling them or anything nefarious in that way. That it's sort of like, let's, you know, elevate, you know, and enhance what's already there. Or if there's a lot of obstacles, such as cattails in front of your webcam, you know, there's so a lot of times there's obstacles. I mean, we've faced a lot of obstacles over the past year, whether it's, you know, you're quarantined in one country and your partner's quarantined in another, or you know, you're at different, you know, where, you know, used to be, you know, had places to go and things like that, and or common places to go. You know, a lot of that changed, so it's like there were a lot of obstacles. So I feel like doing a road opener or blockbuster kind of thing to kind of get some of those obstacles out of the way,
Mhm.
um you know, is a way to approach something where it's not like I want to remove the obstacle of a person or something. Corey,
Sorry that I'm laughing. It's just the cattails. Like you fucking
Corey, okay, hi. How's this?
say hello to the internet, Corey. How you doing, bro?
Hey
Yeah, but that's true. You know, a lot of people don't do shadow work because they don't want to work on themselves. You know, they want to stay the way they are, and that's just, especially within magic, so not good, not good at all.
Yeah, and it's I find, you know, on the left hand path, we most of us do a lot of shadow work, and then there's sometimes you'll just run into people you're like, no, you haven't done. I'm like, yeah, sure, you've worked with these entities because, no, you haven't, because you just haven't. You're not. You haven't been put through the shadow work you need to go through.
Yeah, exactly. And
Work
it's
with a while and don't do any shadow work. Let's see how that works out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, just constantly improve yourself. Try to improve yourself, and that's not a thing for everyone. But if you do magic
it's
and
hard. I mean, that's the thing, is shadow work is brutal. It's awful. It's
yeah.
hard, and a lot of people don't want to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Just 3 days ago, I was on my couch actually crying because of me, because I was struggling with myself, seeing parts of myself that I don't like. So it was hard, and it keeps bubbling up to the surface. And I enhance that with magic because I willingly want to see that gone from myself. So after the ritual with Lilith, it was a great empowerment. But there was some negative aftermath of that will be turned into positives afterwards.
Yeah. I was trying to sleep the other night, and I feel like probably Belial and stuff. I was like, no, here, let's go over all your relationship trauma from the past 30 some years. I'm like, thanks. I really want to revisit this right now when I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, sometimes, especially when you want to sleep, things come up. It's like, why now, brain? Or
But
why
it was
now?
interesting because it was like the thing would come up, I would acknowledge it, and then it would go. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm not that person anymore. I would never do that particular. Cats.
So, for example, the pact that I've done with Lucifuge or Fakale is an ongoing pact of essentially shadow work to get what I wanted in the first place by changing myself. He's moving things into the right direction. That's also key. Like constantly moving into where I want to be with that. According to the pact, but it's a lot of shadow work, essentially the whole pact, because he's the dark scribe, he's the dark throne of Lucifer. So there will be a lot of shadow work that will be forced onto you. So you either do it, you either change yourself and see where you have to better yourself, or pain, like drown in misery, because there's no other way around that, because he will make you he'll show you what's really going wrong with you, and then he'll push you to do things, and then you got to push yourself to do exactly that.
Yeah. I haven't worked with Lucifuge. I do have a pact that I did last October. But it's a very broad kind of like pact for, kind of my overall goals magically. And stuff like that. But there's different approaches to pacts and things like that. Some people are like, oh, you make the pack and you burn it right away. Sometimes, and different spirits call for different things. Like after I had done the first pack with Lucifer, I'm like, okay, well, this pact is clearly done. What do I do with this? And I had some ritual ashes from a previous ritual I had done last year. And he was like, no, you burn the pact, you mix those ashes with that and crush up black rose petals in it. So, with packs, as far as like, there's some that are ongoing. I have a special box I keep them in, and I accidentally turned the TV on when I sat down. So there's different things. I've been feeling like I need to work a little bit more with Lucifuge again. Just on other things, because it's sort of, I've worked with a different, like when I was doing like the demonic gatekeeper path working and stuff like that, is I worked with them in different ways that made sense for me at the time and not forcing interaction and things like that. Like I have to work with Beelzebub for these 3 months right now,
Yeah.
Each of them I worked on different things, and those are going to be ongoing things. Like what I worked on Beelzebub with was emotional pestilence, how emotions can be like a plague in a way that can devastate you, that can rot you from the inside out.
And that's what's happening, I guess,
Yeah. And like thinking about, okay, well, if you're constantly controlled by and ruled by certain emotions or feelings or things like that, is to look at it from that perspective of almost treating it like it's a disease. And how do you fix that? How do you cure that?
Yeah, true.
Like
and
the
that's
disease of self-doubt, say.
Yeah, thrusting yourself willingly into hell, and hell is a different place for everyone and with different avenues. And that's shadow work as well. And like when I do pacts, for example, it's either ongoing, like the ongoing pact with Lucifuge will go on for however long it goes. I have a pact with Azazel that goes for a lifetime. And then there's a different.
I think I did my pact with Azazel in the astral realm, but we never actually wrote anything in the physical realm.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. It's like,
But like when I was doing it, like I felt like, you know, it was just kind of like
yeah, I like to do it like physically as well, because just that I
yeah.
have it like on paper, on black and white. It's like, yeah, this is what's happening. This is a done deal, for
Yeah.
example.
And so
So
like with the one with Lucifer, I did kind of like the second part of it. I'm like, okay, this was the things that needed to happen immediately. Let's look at the things that need to happen in the next 6 months or to a year or whatever.
yeah,
It's like, let's, you know, start opening the avenues and the roads and putting the pieces into place for this to manifest.
exactly. And what people, I always say people. When I say people, it's like people that are new to this and like don't know anything about witchcraft, something, or don't have never done a pact or specific things. When you do pacts, don't think like it's you're selling your soul.
No.
You know, because the first of all, they don't want your
They don't
soul.
want your soul.
They don't want your fucking soul. Soul is everything. This is soul.
Yeah, when people sell their soul, it's more of a symbolic gesture or act. It's
Yes.
not a literal like Satan owns my soul now, so
Exactly. I mean, selling your soul is also like, so I sold my soul to magic and I sold my soul to what I'm doing here because this is now my path, you know? And there's definitely like sacrifices you have to make, you know, in order to, you know, be on a specific path. So I sold myself to this path, to magic, you know, and I cannot abandon it because I sold myself to it. But when you do pact, for example, these are human concepts, you know, and we work with these deities in the human, you know, concept, because they don't care about the pact that you wrote somewhere, you know. So you have an agreement with them, so that's definitely an agreement that you kind of should work towards and, like, you know, do everything that you said you would do. Well, at the same time, they don't care about the written word, you know. If you are essentially bound to them with a pact, make sure you work through that pact, as you said, but don't expect, you know, anything to happen if you just do a pact and it's like, okay, I've done my pact, you know. No, you deliver, you know. It's like, yeah, I remember. Sorry,
I'd been working with Lucifer for a full year before I did that pact. So I'd put in all that work up until that point in time. Then it was kind of like, okay, here's your presents.
oh, you could do that. Yeah, that's definitely actually beneficial. More like work with deity first before you do any pact with them. But for example, the way I've done it is like, I never felt like, okay, like for Azazel, I've been working with Azazel for years, so that's a different thing. But for Lucifuge, I knew I want to make a pact with you, so I started contacting him because of that. And then there's, you know,
Enough, when I first started working with Lucifuge, the way I always described him was a nerdy German accountant. I don't know why he's German to me, but for some reason Lucifuge is German to me.
Das ist sehr interessant. That's very interesting. Yeah, and it depends on what you want, you know. It's like, but also make sure if you make a pact, you know, they will ask you something in return, but that doesn't mean that I will sacrifice a child for you, you know. I will do this, like, what are you willing to give up and what are you willing to do so that I see that you're actually working through this, you know. Because these entities, you know, when you work with them and you call them forth, they take on a specific aspect, you know, through your specific perspective on reality and how you think things function, and then they become a part of you because you call them forth through yourself, you know, not through the external world, but also
and sacrifice and offering can be almost the same thing too, because like I don't do a lot of, I mean, Lucifer, I buy lots of presidents for, but really they're also for me. But you know, like with a lot of them, it's the products I make and sell. That's my offering to them. I'm putting their energy and the ability for other people to work with them out there. And that's an acceptable offering to them.
yeah, exactly. And like, for example, when I've done a Lucifuge pact, I offered him something specific, and back then it actually was the first pact I ever made, and so I would approach it completely differently nowadays, but it's a written thing that keeps on going. And afterwards, I actually went back to him and I've done another ritual to extend the pact. And he told me, look, the things, the way you worded them are also symbolic in a way, because the way what you wanted to give me, sure, yeah, I'll take that. Well, at the same time, you already give that to me. So, you know, it's like, it depends on how you word it and how you see that and how they see that as well. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because again, it goes back to clarity and stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of different languages on this planet. And, you know, we emote and we say things in very different ways. So, you know, asking for, you know, worldly riches or something. Well, okay, what's the what's the standard of living in the country you're in? Because to be a rich person in the United States is going to be different than being a rich person in a small island somewhere.
Or in Africa.
Exactly. It's you've got to kind of be specific, because you're dealing with pan-dimensional entities that exist in multiple realms, and yeah, you've got to be specific about things. And also, like, what I would suggest to people who are new to doing pacts is, don't do a pact and have like 25 things in that pact. Do it 1 to 2 things at a time, or like pick a goal and be like, okay, I'm working with Asmodeus to bring love into my life, okay, in this way, and once you get that thing, okay, that pact is done. I'm going to work with Asmodeus again for, this, and then that's done, instead of being like, Asmodeus, I want to meet the love of my life, and I want to like have them propose to me in a specific place in the next, 6 months, and then I want to get married here, and then I want to have 2 kids, and then a big house, and then this, that. No. You don't do that all at once.
Yeah.
Baby steps, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good segue into actually ending this podcast, because I think we've been on for quite a long
time. 2 hours.
Yeah, so we don't want to bore any one of you. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Talking to you.
Yeah, we may break this up into a couple segments, I guess.
Yeah, probably like 2 parts or something like that.
Thank you for joining me today. Tell everyone where they can find you, and we'll have links below.
Yeah, well, once again, thanks for having me on. It was really great. One of the best podcasts so far that I've done. You can all check me out at Aserial Krabat on YouTube. I'm also on TikTok with Aserial Krabat. It's all down in the description. It's spelled the same way like you see it down there. I am available for Ritual for Hires. You can do consultations with me, and also on Facebook. So yeah,
and he does really amazing graphic design and video work.
I also, yes, thank you. Yeah, for reminding me.
If you haven't seen his videos, go watch them now, because they're freaking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I also do graphic design, a videographer. I do a lot of stuff. So yeah, if you want to check me out, check out my channel and my other channels.
Cool.
Awesome.